Good morning, Miss Jen and everyone. My name is Long Huỳnh.
And I'm Thanh Hảo. So we recently finished reading A Rose for Emily by William Faulkner, and we were absolutely captivated.
So to understand why this story is so haunting and captivating, I think we first need to look at its creator. So now let me introduce the author to you guys. This short story was written by William Faulkner, a Nobel Prize winner and a giant of American literature. He is considered one of the most influential American writers of the 20th century, and he the master of the Southern Gothic fiction, a genre defined by dark humor, decay, and eccentric characters. About his homeland, he was born in Lafayette County, Mississippi, and this is the inspiration for his famous fictional work, Yona Batava. And about whose influences, his work was shaped by the people around him, from his mother, grandmother to Tony Hawk, the Black Knight into racing, and the writer Sherwood Anderson, who encouraged his first manuscript. And about his achievement, his profound impact on literature was recognized with the Nobel Prize in 1949 and the two Pulitzer Prizes. About his literary works, Faulkner is famous for his experimental narrative style, which includes stream of consciousness, non-linear chronology, and dance and complex prose. Some of his later novels include The Sound and the Fury, as Alain Diane, Lion Boneless, and Absalom Absalom. However, I think his greatest creation of his setting. Interestingly, most of his stories take place in the fictional Yoknapatawpha County, a mirror of his own home in Lafayette County. And on the slide, you can see this is the map of the Yoknapatawpha County, and this was drawn by the William Faulkner himself. And now let's focus on our mysterious story today, A Rose for Emily. First published in 1930, the story is set in the fictional world of Jefferson, and it serves as a powerful allegory for the decade of the Old South, examining how isolation and a refusal to accept the time political challenge.
So that tragedy is undeniable, but there's one thing I'm curious about is who's telling the story.
Well, unlike most story told by an I or he, Faulkner chose a unique perspective, the first-person human read. And this creates a collective narrative. It's not one person speaking, but a unified voice of the entire town of Jefferson. This collective narrative does two things. First, there is Faulkner observable facts, like Emily's battle with the tax collectors. But more importantly, they share gossip and memories. They don't just see Emily as a woman, they see a child, a frozen symbol of the past that they have watched for generations. Moreover, this perspective is powerful and it allows the narrator to judge her as dear and inescapable and perverse, but also feeling her tragedy. And through their eyes, you can see the fiction between the Southern tradition and the Northern change. And this shared viewpoint enabled our reader to cultivate empathy, not merely for Emily's individual tragedy, but for the historical weight and complex human relationship bound by an absolute social hope. So in conclusion, Faulkner's choice of narrative amplify the story, historical depth, and profound social commentary. And before we dive into the deep analysis, our group have prepared a short video summary to help you understand the main idea effectively.
In a certain town, Jefferson, the story of Emily Grierson remained a mystery that time cannot erase. The Grierson family home, once a symbol of wealth, now has become a part of the past, leaving only loneliness, just like its owner, Emily. Under that roof, Emily grew up under the strict control of her father. His shadow loomed over every step she took, preventing her from escaping those fighting, offering no chance for her to choose her own life. When her father died, she kept his body, unable to let go and face the reality. It was the first time the town witnessed something strange in her, an act that couldn't be explained, yet reflected the utter loneliness within Emily. But then, one day, Homer Baron, a northerner, appeared, bringing new joy to Emily, the woman who had lived in the shadows for too long. Their feelings grew, and Emily hoped for the only one love she had, even though she knew Homer Baron didn't want to be bound. One day, Emily walked into the pharmacy and picked up a bottle of arsenic. No one knew what she needed it for, but everyone suspected something was about to happen. Then, no one saw Homer again. Emily disappeared from the street, and the house remained shut tight. When authority came to collect the taxes, Emily remained in refusing. She lived with her memories, unwilling to let anyone intrude upon her word. When Emily passed away, the whole town came for her funeral. Her life ended in solitude, with no one truly understanding her. After the funeral, the townsfolk opened the locked room that had been closed for years and discovered the body of Homer Baron, who had been missing for years. On the pillow next to him was a single gray hair, the mark of a desperate love, an obsession that lasted until the end.
So let me start with the scene. Now I would like to introduce Mr. Tree, a lifelong resident of Jefferson. Mr. Tree, could you help us describe what is where all this happened?
Well, we was only by the middle of it. Jefferson, Mississippi. This is one town, you know. Everybody knows, everybody visits. But technique is the house of the year. All the days used to be the most celestial in the town. Fancy part. Not limited now. It's an eyesore among all these cheaper cheesecake batches. This is the last time left. Still an educated, while the rest of the town will not.
It sounds like the time had changed a lot. So what about the time period? How long have you been watching on the story unfold?
Oh, it's been a flight time. A long chilly flight time. The story changes on the way back to the old days. After the Civil War, maybe in 1894. I remember when we still had the couple of veterans sitting on the horse, brought carriages and horses on the road. But I didn't on chair. I watched it myself anyway. We went from dirt roads to sidewalks, from horses to these loud gasoline pumps and trucks. The town was fun, but that town just stuck in the past.
And what about Emily's hometown like that house?
Oh, I watched her fly past the right through the windows from the time her father died when she was a young woman, maybe 30. On the way, she passed at 74. There were big gaps though, the 6 months here at the back. And those for long, 20 long years where I stayed still tight. 40 years, still business.
Yeah, thanks a lot for your information.
And based on the witness testimony, I like to bring in Dr. Liu. So, doctor, from a sociological perspective, how would you analyze the physical environment?
After looking at the recent profile in my investigator, it's clear that the whole physical and social environment that includes Emily's life. Let's explain first about the physical environment. Emily's house used to be a beautiful Victorian house with a coach roof and white bedroom. It stood out of their neighborhood, but over time, the town changed, and as you can see, the town got older and was almost abandoned. It was surrounded by new unit gas station and garages. Not only the outside, inside went up carried to the house, the dark and dusty make you feel really gloomy. But and here it is now open. There was dust everywhere. Even the furniture that seemed like
outdated and reflected chair and table. And the thing that made me feel a little bit present is because I Emily's planner stayed in the middle of the living room. And of course, I have not spent a lot. There's one friend walking through. The room has faded over a mirror that lost its sign, a man's shoes and shoes on the chair, all the air inside, feel heavy and smell of decay. It felt like a tall over the person who lay there for many minutes.
Yeah, a very brief setting. So what about the social environment? What pressures did Emily face?
As I know that the town Jefferson had a big thing happen to Emily's life. Pete Jefferson, the president, was very important and the Wilson family. They seemed like being put to black and without black. Because of Pete, the town saw Emily and the family responsibility. People expected her to behave differently because she came from a good family. But they also judged about the reason that they were too proud and keep themselves apart from the rest of the town. Also, the social government not only saw that they every time to live with children of the town's people, full of corruption and prison. Her relationship with Paul Barrett, the Northwood, was seen like a savior for the town and a benefit for the young people. This town saw that the society was overwatching and controlling.
And now let's go back to our lifelong resident. So let's discuss the timeline of the events. So in the trade, could you have us walk through the plot like how did the story open?
Oh, it started with the scene of the latest town of Cinematic, which is the third. This really was a shining monument of how again at the start of the scene. It was the story of the mineral, and of course, real great. But the man went out with his level of affection, but let's be honest, the woman just went out to curiosity and see inside. That's it. It's years.
Then things started to get complicated, right?
Oh, it's very complicated. It's been trouble between her and another word. First, she feels the way Texas lay into the past and sitting she only did with Conrad Satyrus who have been there for years. And now, the more adamant would afraid to come from her. So we need to allow and tonight it's really not just a window. And scandal, she started sitting on married another neighbor with just from Ashley because he wasn't good enough. And he was a man who, woman is did not want to marry. But she had a man, she was a saddic. They were for us. And they're a man's super toilet set and a full suit of clothes. The last thing we saw that the house and
Before I missed the tree, that's what the turning point, the climax of her behavior.
the true elements happened right after a funeral. The tension started when we decided to fall our way. Upstairs and this year for 40 years. We couldn't wait anymore. We threw ourselves on the table and knocked at the door. Just a case here.
And what happened next?
The room was decked out, windows with the name of the person. Right on the man were a heavily difficult curse on her manner. He had been rooting there for decades, living in his internal.
And tell me about the finale that was over.
As was an honor, the final piece of evidence that solved the mystery was on the pillow right next to him. He saw a deep attention on the hand and rested on it. It was a single, long, straight of iron hair. Her hair. In the end, she had been lying next to the corpse for years, keeping it for her distant friend.
What a cheering resolution.
Thanks, John. And so let's go back to Dr. Lee. So let's look at the evidence. Doctor, what were the central culprits driving this strategy?
So, what is the main conflict enemies like? Conflict drive everything in her life. She faced not only the problem from the others, but also had big internal struggle. The external conflict type here, and now we want to tell you about the conflict with her father and her mother. Conflict between Emily and her father is about control. Her father drive away all against the three girls, stopping Emily to find a relationship or living independently. This causes internal struggle because Emily fought to live under his control, even if that his influence stayed all her life, and the conflict between Emily's and her parents is about class and society expectation. Emily is from a rich family from Southern, right? But and she won marriage, she won long love and contracted that over a day laborer. And he is not, he doesn't want to have any commitment. This creates a big conflict because the love Emily wants can turn that love to be hope. When someone values conflict society's value, that's time the conflict happens. And this is when Emily's conflict with society is so. She had a conflict with the house people after her family died. The town wants him to take acid. She refused it. She's not accepting the change happening around her. This so she received time in her life. Another conflict happened when the house people chose Emily's relationship with her. They see it, that's wrong, but it doesn't fit with their norm, the society norm. And when the bad smell starts from her house, the town people try to pick it without telling her. Each action so harmless society control life and so closely the community watched her.
And the internal, what was going on in her mind?
Emily's facing many fears in her life. The fear of being abandoned, the fear of being alone was a big part of her struggle. Her father control and his dad lived a long time here. She fears being abandoned to live on her own. Because of this, she fell onto the path first by killing her parents born and later by trying to kill her marriage. Staying for forever. Finally, the struggle with time and reality alone. She lived in denial, not able to move or willing to accept time was passing on death were real. Without abuse made her refuse to age and settle on like pay taxes as this so that's also by keep her relationship with same degree as the change along.
Thank you, Dr. and Mr. Xi. So, ladies and gentlemen, the case of Rose for Emily is not just a murder mystery. It's a tragedy about inability to let go of the past.
And I think this is the reason why Mila Fokker handed us a rose, not to celebrate Emily, but perhaps to pity a woman trapped by her own history.
And we have examined the crime scene and heard the witnesses. But to solve the case, you must understand the suspect.
Who exactly is Emily Wilson? Is she a cold-blooded killer or a victim of her time?
So to answer this, we have brought in our guest, criminal psychologist, Ms. Hun and Ms. Bloom. And Ms. Hun, what does your psychological assessment about Emily Grissom?
Well, I will say that if Emily Grissom is a psychological horror is in my case. Her life history, her behavior pops and center on her emotional world. But what really stands out is the complexity of her personality. Her contradictory nature reflected conflict. She carried pride and incompatibility, all certain aristocracy. At the same time, her resistance to engage with the cultural elements like heat. Her extreme action demonstrates powerful helping behavior and when being involved. And finally, her psychological ability shows that she is a person defect in a case that is written by her. And Miss Emily understands the dramatic psychological case. She can control and isolate a fire.
Fostering deep dependency. After the father death, the city was replaced with an obsession with control and desperate typically to the relationship, and were consistent refused to accept those need to increase psychological deterioration, revealing her inability to adjust to the modern. She became completely isolated and trapped between the inescapable mask and invisible presence.
So before we break down our life timeline, I want to ask the audience some questions. So raise your hand if you think Emily is a criminal.
Embracement is distinction actually a victim.
So it's kind of controversial. So let's look at the evidence across the 4 stages of her life. Let's open the timeline. Miss Han and Miss Hu, please guide us through Emily's life.
So we have divided her life into 4 phases that help explain the underlying psychological reason for the action. Starting with stage 1 of youth living under her glass. So this was a period where Emily lived at simple prison family partner. The overbearing throne prevented her from developing normal personal relationships. And now, please remain since which Emily was asked to go dancing.
What do you want here?
Good evening, Mr. Griffin. I would like to ask for Miss Emily for a dance as gathering tonight.
Miss Emily is not available.
But I think you might be.
My daughter has no interest in dances.
Alright, I understand, sir. Good evening.
Go inside, Emily. Emily, I want to see you speaking to that horse again.
I didn't do anything wrong, Father.
Those men are not good for you, none more. I will not allow Jim Company to ruin your dignity. Do you understand?
Yes, Father.
Good. Now close with presents. We don't need the neighbors looking in.
Thank you for the sin. About her looks, in the town's memory, she was visualized as a slender figure in white. Her relationship. The relationship was dominated by her father, who constantly drove away the young man. The image was played as a tablet, and this relationship was an emotional imprisonment. About her actions, she lived in a family who protected and isolated here. Every action in the was to affecting the isolated fate imposed on her father. And leaving behind the years and the trials control, Kat was dived into the revealing of her psychological factor. Stage 2, after her father's death. Her father death left Emily isolated immediately, exposing her extreme detachment community. And about her looks, after a period of illness, her jungle was sharp, making her look like a bird. This revelation marks her transition from a sequestered daughter to a woman beginning to follow the outside world. Yet, displaying a sense of life. And about her action, she denied that she refused to acknowledge her father's death for 3 days, and she always showed an awkward trace of grief and always needing the burial when horses hide their authorities. And about her thought, she was lonesome and alienated, struggling to accept a word that no longer had a place for her family members, and she began to display an utter happiness against the lower time, thinking renewed in the whole anger.
Moving on to stage 3, relationship that common marriage. This relationship represents Emily ultimate attempt for love and hate. Yet, it was began by an older generation. And now, please refrain your sins when Miss Emily and Homer were sent together.
Miss Emily, I haven't seen you outside for so long. Would you like to take a ride?
You don't mind.
You know, this is how every part but somehow being with you making you feel nicer.
I didn't think that I can make anyone feel like that.
In a good way, a very good way.
I think she will marry him.
She won't ready yet.
Poor Emily, who is how she come to her. Poor Emily.
Do you think it's real so?
Of course it is. Whatever hood. Gosh.
I want some poisons.
Yes, ma'am, but
I said I want some poison.
this you can use for price or success.
I want the best you have. I don't care one more time.
But yes, this time you kind of an effort or
Isolate. Is that a good one?
is isolate. But what do you want for?
I want isolate.
Yes, ma'am, but the law requires you to talk me about what to do for.
Thank you. And now, please recreate the scene where Miss Emily got Ashley. About her look in the state, she carried her head higher up, eating the fire with the omelette. When by impulsive, she was thinner than usual, with cold, hot-lit black eyes. Her arrogance was to conceal her internal fragility and dark intelligence. About her speech, her very rapid made her perfect when poison usually faded utterly. Her speech demonstrated her absolute resignation of firm law and societal order. About her action, first she got mastered, then she ordered a man's heart attack and silver in very good initial and speed. Then she got a complete outfit of men's clothing, and finally she poisoned all the berries to let attack herself. I would say the murder is the climax of her tragedy. She chose to free time and love with that, so she never lose her. Overall, Emily's behavior shows a heart of emotional recklessness. Ignoring the town's judgment, she behaved as she had nothing to lose. Her refusal to explain her how that defined the plot, her needed insecurity can heal a better. And when she found that he did not stay, her desperation led to very noisy. Yes, Miss Emily is a criminal program, but she is also the victim of the loneliness. So, now, after the collapse of her relationship from the marriage, we moved into stage 4, Emily Old A, where isolation becomes finally to final reality. And at that stage, the Emily is completely self-inclined in the gothic dictating her. Since it is born monument of Southern tradition, reflecting her deep alienation. So now, then we will see the scene when the authorities came to the house to collect taxes.
Where is he? It's way up time to come here to talk about his attack. Miss Emily, we come here to talk about his attack. Can you cooperate?
I have no capacity in charity. Or there's something to explain it for me. But how one can get such a city report and sanctify yourself?
But we are the city authority, Miss Emily. Didn't you get a notice from the sheriff signed by him?
Yes, I have studied the paper. But I have no capacity in charity. But how? No, I have no capacity in charity.
But there is nothing on the book to show that.
See, Colonel Sandry, I have no capacity in charity.
But Miss Emily,
See, Colonel Sandry, I have no capacity in charity. Tolerate!
okay, thank you for listening. And about her looks, she became obese and flaunted, but fibers aren't completely here. The static flaunted appearance emphasizes how time has ceased to move on her. And about her action, when she was about 40, Miss Emily gave Chinaman willingly to darker and then darker of the town people. This was the only period when the door was open, and he had some limited contact to it. And her resistance to his end, she finally refused to pay taxes on the land city to attach modern items like numbers or mailbox, desperately clinging to the outdated rules and her identity from the past. and she lived in self-impression. For nearly 40 years, the secret would Homer Barron's farm in the upstairs room, and then leading to loneliness and failure to resist the resent. And at 74 years old, she passed away. And about her relationship with the town, people view her as both charming and eccentric, fun but hard to read, and with Toby excellent. It was the last thing her death who disappeared immediately after her death. And with Homer Barron, after her death, Homer's body was stored on the bed. In the attitude of her face, alongside is a string of Emily ivory hairs. This track however revealed that she slept beside the dead body, successfully transforming her illicit relationship into a reserved, unchanging the past. And as we can see, Emily became increasingly alienated as socially changes and her traditional role fade. She stopped being pleasant because the younger generation no longer care for traditional or old-fashioned activities. And when this social purpose disappeared, she withdrew the living, closing the door and returning to isolation. She obsessed with the time and ultimately convinced the yesterday to preserve the worth and no longer exist. Please for more software analysis about this period. Now we must talk about the victim Homer Barron. So this one, psychologically speaking, was Homer just an innocent bystander, or did he trigger this tragedy? Yeah, so I would say that Homer Barron functions as a secondary figure and acts as a catalyst for evidence breakdown and extreme actions. Homer behaviors and point is fundamentally related. His nature and intentions remain unchanged, but he embodies an inferior solstice of morality that constantly decays traditions and style. About his looks, Homer, when he wrote here, he was described as a dark, big running man with a big voice and eyes light at his face. This strong physical presence set him apart from the quiet, southern town and he struck sharply with every word. In the jet, tranquility and energy. About his talk and speech, he is portrayed as a carefree, sociable, and not really motivated. It was known that he liked men and praised the younger men in the club. The line that you want marry men that Homer unable to offer any visibility and confidence she dies. This line that helps to understand Emily's key and abandonment. Homer featured like an extroverted danger. He talks loudly and interacts confidently with the character. He is friendly and fearlessly adopted. He does not see himself bound by certain expectations. And about his action, Homer abroad with Jigger and Boo for paperwork, he was highly sociable and handling policy, showing confidence and disregard for hardship, and his withdrawal is almost increased, confirming he was not prepared for marriage or long-term community. And about his relationships, Homer's relationship with Emily is ambiguous. He enjoyed money, yet didn't intend to marry. And he didn't have an outsider in Yankee, whose informal behavior challenged sound nerves. And ultimately, their relationship became defined by Emily need for permanence, so she transformed into a state symbol of love that couldn't leave. And at the final stage, his body worked out in a room. A long string of iron gray hair on the design pillow confirmed Emily has left designer skeleton for pancakes. And Homer Barron's strategy growth is to serve as a unrighted victim of Emily Gasker struggling against time and lost. She represents the modern world which is flexible, informal, and reject her. But anyway, she unable to cope with the reality that the old is very close to that, chooses to confirm and into the fixed realism of the private past. Well, with such a chapter class, Homer was considered to be not a married man, while Emily wanted long-term commitment. So everyone, raise your hand if you think Homer Barron was partly blamed for leading Emily to this strategy.
Well, ultimately, wrong was a new tragedy. and we understand that the crime rarely happens in that home. There were others involved. Let's take a look at the supporting cast, like the father, the help, the servants. And now I would like to introduce Miss Nguyen to start with us.
Hello everyone, my name is Lun and I'm a psychologist. And as I will analyze about Emily's father. Emily's father is holding physical and struggling role in her life, embodied in the religion as his practice. A traditional assassination. He is a person who is controlling her social life, driving thoughts to her because nothing quite good enough for Miss Emily. His control meant when you die, Emily was never not been mad, and they will continue to click to that which has grown her. Her death was a step in her fate, pushing her toward to the destination of isolation, and he served as the evidence of the heart who is passing Emily desperately in mind, because this was symbolized the complete disappearance of her idea and ascolated history. His portrait fit for both the white blade and the beholder. It implies the enduring confining illusion of the tradition. And next is about the how people. Temple has served as the community treatment and memory, watching the Emily transformation and the display figure to an object of the Marvel fascination. Sibyl had previously had a monument at the center of the park, and that kingdom purposefully over the time. And in the park, how people view Emily and her family as the mission of art and treatment. They see her as the elevated, as her untouchable, and treat her as a singer rather than a normal person. And next year, after her father died, people were in the way class. They feel to currently finally pity Miss Emily. Somehow didn't harm her greatly when she refused to acknowledge his life. They believe that she had to do that because she had nothing left and had to fix the memory of the man who has brought her as the more normal life. The attitude was saved to personality. They recognize her isolation and click to the past, understanding her labor as a response of loss and strip upright. They respect the behind, but also feel translated to the traditional and modern idea. And it is new talk about the relationship with the home area. How people reach conclusion with Emily and Homer was marriage. There are two women. First, in Emily are the men taught that in silver and engraved with the initial HB. And 2 days later, he bought a complete outfit and a complete outfit of the man clothing, including nice step. And that's how people was really impressed to ask the prospect. They has become the Miss Emily alive because they want to have her circumvent the Egyptian who has viewed her as even more prison than Miss Emily was having been. And after the disappearance of her marriage, how people noticed was blackmail about the place. The cat went to open until Miss Emily would cause a smell. Instead, the person they went to her properly at midnight, so and hot like a burden, and rolled open the cell door and spring the light clear in the outdoor building. People realize they feel sorry for Miss Emily because they might have the weekend, the old lady had done completely crazy and right. And Chaplin home fear that insisted in the Christian family. They also understand that her father has apparently dropped her of the home of the normal woman life and now has nothing left. And she had to clean what she had. And last is they are to will move to the other corner in the funeral. There are two reasons why the man and the woman come to the funeral. Is they attend to the kind of respect to effect for the fallen woman. And Emily presents a traditional ability and the care that how to apply to honor. The very old man as the furniture, some still wearing a clothes conservative uniform. To these men, the time didn't seem to move over and the past like the unless matter that's truly end. And for the man, they attend mostly with curious to see the inside of the house. It's not expect her, it's no one is that her old man servant has been inside the house for last 10 years. And the house was in the inside is dirty and unusual in turn. It focus for the in the great mystery of the trap.
And the town watched her like a show, the gossip, the church.
And this lady, what about the legal servant? Toby, who would like to know about this man?
Next we will talk about the neighbor Toby and the neighbor servant Toby. And Toby is the one who got identified the Miss Emily as Toby. And Toby was the Miss Emily long-time servant, acting like both the garden and the pool. They aged over the year, from the young man to the old man by the time of her death. And her servant maintained that he is the person who maintained the housing and isolation. This island, silent, yet he had a comeback in all that. It is silent where Miss Emily's secret into her intimate pride as he has the last person bringing home a berry into the house. As the Miss Emily funeral, he admired the first visitor and then the net. Stimuli has the room for witness and will take her hidden word.
So it's clear that Toby, the servant, knew to let Palmer in and never spoke a word.
So last question for the jury. If you want Toby, and you know that there was a body upstairs, raise your hand if you would have told the police.
And raise your hand if you have stayed silent out of loyalty or fear. So once again, thank you, Ms. Lin, for this deep dive into the character. So we have analyzed the psychological profile of Emily and other characters. But to understand why the tragedy happened, we need to look at the word that created and use.
Well, we have divided our investigative journalist, Miss Lee, who has been interviewing the townspeople and analyzing the historical records. So, Miss Lee, based on your investigation, it is just a story about a lonely woman or the last of the entire society. Yes, I've been hearing the business and psychological expert on the case, and he has recorded following discovery used for central team that signal only any line, but also the collective behavior of sound. And third, the historical background that define the child's behavior. The post-Civil War South, but the community on this side of the past is made to deal to the tragic death of those people who were. After the Civil War, aristocratic work-class communities on the side of the past suffering with like much magical through figures like coronavirus, family, and fearsome family. Emily, proud and isolated, become single of those who cannot move forward. While society cling to old identity, it is due to the form of individual trapped in the from there, the conflict begins as alternation between realities, tradition and preference. The refusal to accept change can trap person in an emotional and psychological decay. The story is so about turning of tradition and modernization. While the industry and national life will diversity the progress, the task will bring to all hierarchies. Miss Emily believes that this conflict holding onto the past
who are seeking change through power. The house resistant feels her emotional breakdown and to attempt to deserve the part. And next thing is patriarchal and patriarchal authority and control. Excessive control from family and society can level of a person's identity and emotional development. In turn, is dominated by male power, shaping every part of woman's life. Emily grew up under her father's strict control and played a now that involved patient of female authority. Her later rebellion, refusing pattern, resisting authority, and ultimating healing harmony come from years of oppression. Her eyes and mothers and children role further highlight the deep systemic suffering of growth. And finally, what's it? Social conversion adjustment. Our community accessory butterfly from seeing a hustle clean until into like the plural narrative needs and the community accessible good gossip as social club policy. They monitor any life of a lie out of mass culture and curiosity. Just the empty from her poverty to her relationship. That their constant experiencing by them her emotional suffering and her brand. Partner so how was the universe real understanding and is like between human connection. So basically, as a journalist, you read between the lines, look for hidden deeply story in the case life. So let's talk about the symbolism in the story. Yes. The evidence was significant of such a symbol. Now, the most accurate, most way is in the case. There's a house. The house in a row for Emily symbolize both every isolation and related random social area. One desperately trying to resolve its image. Image despite reply is reflect a society resistant chain and mirrors the tradition called wild warriors are to a particular desert. As you track and the emotional decline, the house become a mirror of her inner world. Now we will find the symbol of analyzed the house as a visible version of Emily, reflecting her emotional story. Elian is bright and well maintained, symbolizing home purity and high social status under her father's control. Later, it becomes fury and decay, fury becomes problematic, and the deterioration of her life is shown. And next, we have reviews of the decay, the great isolation. The house in a row for Emily's life, Emily's isolation and flow in the world. She lived in a fortress of modern society. The house was left, the front door closed, the back neglected. It's become a symbol of death, the bottom line, and the console from outside is not just and so contracting with the modern town and both how and Emily are isolated. And on a larger scale, the house become the last structure linked to the past. Miss Emily House is only one left, while grass and cotton geese to replace the others and chain as like climb old town and as the new industrial American overtake the timber in college style. And then we find silent but controlling presence in her home, the portrait of Pet Emily father. The portrait of her father's like controlling the recipe of every entire time. And this lingering legacy is so purpose authority, indivisible, her design and identity. Display on the internet itself and emotionally about love there. It proves she could never escape his psychological and societal influence.
And inside the house, you found the button and that famous shredded hair focus themselves.
Yeah, you have to have how emotional show in to that the town hall you see, and we have mass emotional state in the like own shell. Also value. Cutting is thought after her father death is like more independence and immaturity, while the last beside how the body so of orange, love and refusal to the side chain. Its iron grade color reverses her connection to the fading old sound and the simpler gray family line. And finally, our last is Emily herself. Emily in his traditional Southern daily track by loneliness and regression, controlled by her father and societal norms, she becomes a symbol of a passport style clinging to the hot, decaying house. Mirrored for old style, her death must come back is final needed.
So thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we started this investigation looking for a villain, but what we found was a tragedy. Emily Grissom was a woman who refused to let go. She refused to let go of her father and stated you didn't need her love.
And now it is clear that Faulkner gave her a rose, not to celebrate her crime, but to acknowledge her pain. She's a reminder that when he cannot adapt to the future, we become prisoner of the past.
And thanks for the investigation. And I'm sure we are now already more understanding about Emily and her situation. And thanks for everyone for coming here today. Ladies and gentlemen, so we started this investigation looking for a villain, but what we found was a tragedy. Emily Grissom was a woman who refused to let go. She refused to let go of her father, her status, and ultimately her lover.
And now it is clear that Faulkner gave her a rose, not to celebrate her crime, but to acknowledge her pain. And she's a reminder that when we cannot adapt to the future, we will become prisoner of the past.
And once again, thanks for the investigation. I'm sure we are now already more understanding about Emily and her situation. And thanks for everyone for coming here today, for helping our investigation become more successful. And we're gonna end up the mystery of a rose for Emily here. And we're gonna continue moving to the figurative language section. So because of the time limitation, I will just point out some of the most typical figurative languages in the world. So firstly, let's talking about the rose. So why does Faulkner title the story A Rose for Emily, but there's no roses appear in the story itself? The story never manifests an actual rose for Emily. So the image of rose here is a hidden image with many meanings. First of all, it represents for the love. So the rose here symbolizes the love Emily deserves and her own longing for love. In the story, Emily suffered her whole entire life lonely and lonely, having her love only by staying in her lover's house. So a rose for Emily for the love she deserved. So the next is going to represent the blood and death. So no roses appear in the story, but the bridal chamber where Homer Baron, Martin's wife, is described as having faded rose color upon the rose shaded glass. So Homer is killed by his own irresponsible love and is killed by Emily's extreme abnormal love. So we're gonna move to the next one. It's the simile. So in the sentence, she looked bloated like a body long submerged in motionless water and that pallid hue. So the simile describes Emily's physical deterioration in her later years. It creates a grotesque image of death and stagnation while she's still alive, so suggesting that she has been drowning in isolation in the past for a long time. So the next one is the metaphor. So in the sentence, when Miss Emily Grissom died, our whole town went to her funeral. The man who was showing respectful affection for fallen monuments. So Emily is metaphorically compared to a fallen mountain. So this suggested that she's not viewed as a human being with feelings, but as a subject and a public object, a relic of history that is imposing, but ultimately lifeless and now-less. The next one we have is the personification. So in the sentence, the long sleeve that outlasts love, that conquers even the limits of love, and cuckolded him. So the gap here is for the long sleeve. It's personified as a rival lover that had cuckolded Homer Byron. So it suggested that ultimately Jeff played Homer more completely than anyone's love ever could. So emphasizing the futility of her attempts to possess him. The fifth you have here is the hyperbole. So the druggist named Samuel, they killed anything up to an elephant, but what he wanted. So in this sentence, the druggist exaggerates the power of proportions to emphasize the levity of what Emily is looking for. And it foreshadows the enormity of the crime she plans to commit. And she needs something strong enough to kill a big, job-ready man. So the sixth is the juxtaposition. So in a sentence, but the Rachels and conscience had included even the obvious names of that neighborhood. Only Miss Emily's house was left. So in this sentence, the author juxtaposes the obvious names and Emily's house with the Rachels and conscience. So this contrasts the elegance and also the relation of the past with the ugly, utilitarian machinery of modern present. So emphasizing Emily's isolation. And the seventh, gonna have the situational irony. So the townspeople believe Emily is going to kill herself when she buys arsenic. So the next day, Bill said she will kill herself, and it was said would be the best thing. So, however, she uses the poison on herself to kill Homer Byron to keep him with her forever. So the eighth we're gonna have here is a traumatic irony. So we were glad because the two female cousins were even more recent than Miss Emily had ever been. So we're not surprised when Homer Byron was gone. So the town assumes that Homer left because the cousins arrived or to prepare for the marriage. But the reader, upon the reflection, realizes the green truth that he never left the house alive, creating a gap between the town's assumption of the reality. So the last one list is the synecdoche. So in the sentence, the Grisons held themselves a little too high for what they really were. The Grisons represents for the entire family identity, lineage as a social code, a metonym for status and self-aristocracy. And the sentence, the house was filled with dust and shadows. So the house stands in for Emily herself. Its interior decade symbolizes her internal decade. So this is the metonymic substitute house for the women. So we have some haiku from guys. Dust clings to her death, time transferred in her silent death. Secrets will begin. And tappers at her door, fading dreams return once more, haunting evermore. So that's the end of our presentation, and thanks for everyone for the attention. So that's the end of our group 4 presentation. Thanks a lot.